Good evening, friends. Today we are going to talk about an important lean tool, which is called Kanban. And Kanban is also known as the pull system. So let me just share my screen and then we start. Okay, screen is visible. Okay. So I think let's start with the definition of the Kanban. Kanban is a Japanese word which literally means the signal card. Okay. In the earlier days, the manufacturing workers would fill out a signal card when a part was running low. So on a particular station, when the inventory is running low, the signal card would be filled out and it will be sent out to the previous process. This would be sent to a team or employee whose job was to order more of that particular part. Now today, this whole process is mostly computerized, and idea of the Kanban normally is to buy more parts only when needed. Kanban has become very popular and has manifested itself even into the software development industry, project management, task management, etc. So Kanban is now no longer just restricted to the manufacturing only. Okay. What we will try to do today is understand what is Kanban, push versus pull production, various Kanban systems, how to calculate the Kanban quantities, and how lean and Kanban work together. We will also take up a case study to understand the Kanban implementation and also look at how Kanban is being used elsewhere. Okay. As I said, that it is now also being used into the other industries as well. So what is Kanban? Different definitions, but one important one which I would put in is Kanban is a visual method for controlling the production as part of just-in-time and the lean manufacturing. As part of a pull system, it would control what is produced in what quantity and when. And its purpose is to ensure that you only produce what the customer is asking for and nothing more. It is a system of signals that is used through the value stream to pull product from customer demand back to the raw materials. And the primary goal of the Kanban is to reduce waste. If the parts are only bought when needed, you are less likely to waste the time, money, or space ordering the unnecessary parts. However, if the parts are bought automatically without knowing if they are needed, it can always, impact your company's bottom line or the profits. Its literal meaning is also, if you take the word Kan and Ban, its literal meaning is that of a flag or a sign. And we all know that, when you see a flag, it means something. So when you see a flag in the manufacturing, you know that it is a time to manufacture the next part. Okay. Some of the people also, since it came from the Toyota as well, some of the people also call it as Toyota nameplate system. Okay. So different names, different, connotations which have come in over here. Kanbans can take many forms, but in most production facilities, they will use the Kanban cards or the bins to control the process. Although there are no limits on how you can control and design the Kanbans. You can run your own imagination on how to design the Kanban. We will also see the innovative way in which the software industry and others have started using the Kanbans. Okay. So a bit about the Kanban origin. As with the just-in-time manufacturing, the idea behind the Kanbans also come very much from the Toyota and their observation of a supermarket in US called Piggly Wiggly. Okay. What they observed was that supermarket would only replenish what was taken by the customers from the shelves. This meant that the shelves never overflowed with excess stock or never ran empty. This pull from the shelves was transferred from the customers all the way back to the various suppliers. Just-in-time was implemented and designed at Toyota by Taiichi Ohno, who took over 15 years to perfect this system. And during the 1970s, many Western visitors would see this at Toyota and they would bring back the Kanban cards and they would try to implement it within their own manufacturing facility. But unfortunately, it didn't work out because they had very little understanding of how the entire Kanban from back to back worked overall. So it was only in the late 80s or early mid 80s that the Kanban actually started to be understood by the West. Till that time, it was more popular within the Toyota and it was very successful over there. So Kanban cards carry necessary information, parts identification, quantity, lead time, order, due date, supplier information, location for storage, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then you have the Kanban card boards, which are designed to hold all the cards in one single place for the easy retrieval and search. And you can also color code them for the various purposes. So these are the two important parts into the entire Kanban over here. The main focus of the just-in-time always has been to pull production through the process as the customer actually takes what they want. Okay. The ideal flow is a single part manufactured as required, although this is not always possible with many processes without significant redesign or investment. And this is very different to what most companies have traditionally done. So let's try to understand the pull and push, or the push and pull production in reference to the Kanban. So in the simplest format, a Kanban is just a signal back to the preceding operation to make the next part. Okay? So for a simple process that is single piece flow, it would operate just as we are showing it into this particular diagram. Of course, production is never so simple. And if it would have been so simple, we would not have required so many, lean tools over here. So many processes just cannot manufacture one product at a time economically and quick enough, even with the rapid changeovers. So we also have many, and we also end up having many production lines, making the multiple products for the customer. So all of these things complicate the things and require a little more thought to be put into designing the system. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of a cold today. Push production. So we talked about the push versus the pull production. Let's understand the push production. So traditionally, production processes are scheduled, raw materials are ordered, and then they're manufactured to create the stock based on the forecast of what the customer is expected to order. Okay, so this is not based upon what the customer has demanded, but it is based upon what the anticipation or the forecast is of what the customer may want to buy. Okay, so this is the push production, and it is very much driven by the materials being fed into the start of the process and all the processes being controlled through a schedule or a material resource planning process. Okay. This typically produces products in large quantity or batches and ties up a huge amount of your capital in stock and work in progress. Okay. So that's the push production overall. Okay. Let's look at the pull production. Pull production works in the reverse. So when a customer takes a product from the end of your production process, a signal is then sent back down the line to trigger the production of the next part. Okay? So it is not based upon an anticipatory or a forecasted production or the demand of the customer, but it's based on the actual demand realized by the customer. So just as a supermarket will fill this empty shelf, each preceding process in the flow will request the parts that it needs from its preceding processes. Okay? This process, which comes into the play over here, is controlled using the Kanban. So that's how the push-pull, or rather the pull production works along with the Kanban. Let's take the other side of it. As I said in the beginning also, that the Kanbans also have been now highly automated. So we have some sample of a e-Kanban, which is again a signaling system, and it uses a mix of technologies to trigger the movement of materials within a manufacturing or production facility. The electronic Kanban differs from the traditional Kanban in using technology to replace the traditional elements like the Kanban cards with the barcodes and the electronic messages like email, electronic data interchange, and so on and so forth. Okay, a typical electronic Kanban marks the inventory with barcodes, which workers scan at various stages of the manufacturing process to signal the usage. And the scans relay the messages to internal external stores to ensure the restocking of the products. Okay. Electronic Kanbans often use the internet as a method of routing messages to external suppliers and as a means to allow a real-time view of inventory, via portal throughout the supply chain. So electronic Kanban will not just remain within the factory, they can also connect up to the supplier systems. And based upon that, they can also, update them about the next supplies to be taken up. So that's your electronic Kanban. Let's discuss the major Kanban systems. There are three types of the Kanban systems. One is a Kanban card system, second is a Kanban bin system, and then there is a Convip system. So we'll just go through all the three of them briefly. So the first one is the Kanban card system. And these are usually the simple cards or the sheets of paper that are attached to a batch of material. Usually there are just 2 or 3 cards for each product in the system, although there may be more if you have to handle the larger batches or if the product size itself is very large. These cards will typically detail what the product is, where it is used, and the quantities that should be there. Remember the card we talked about, the contents of the card. So this is all about the card itself. What is the product, what is the quantity to be used, where it is to be used, where it is stored, and so on and so forth. Okay. So for multiple card systems, it will also say that which card it is and how many of this card is, that it is 1 of the 3, 1 of the 5, 1 of the 4, or 2 of the 4, and so on and so forth. So you know that in this particular system right now, you're using the 4 cards, 5 cards, or 3 cards. Okay. When a process finishes using the material to which Kanban card is attached, the card is returned to the previous process. This is then used as an authority for that previous process to manufacture. Until and unless we receive this particular card, we don't start the manufacturing. So it becomes an authority to signal that yes, the next level of the manufacturing or the next part manufacturing can start because the card has returned back from the subsequent process. Okay. In the multiple card system, this process will typically have to wait for a set of number of cards to be returned back before they start the manufacturing of the next batch. Because if there are 3 cards, then all the 3 cards have to return back. Then only you know that this entire life has been completed of this Kanban cycle. The second one is Kanban bin system. This is pretty much similar to the card system. Only thing is that you use, instead of the card, the containers itself where the material is kept into it. Okay, so the container itself is then called the actual Kanban. Okay, you don't have to have a separate card. Usually these containers will also have some labels attached to it, or they will have a slot on which you can put the information about, again, the same thing, what particular material, what purpose, quantity, and stuff like that. Okay, so that is the bin side of it. The third system is the Convip system. And Convip is nothing but the constant work in progress. So con comes from the constant, first 3 character, and the WIP comes from the work in progress. This system is more like the actual idea of using a supermarket shelves, but the Kanban is the actual location on the shop floor. Okay. So when a process removes a product from the previous process, the empty space is Kanban, and the previous process will work to fill that particular gap into that next process. Okay, this system works well for the systems in which you can achieve near to one-piece flow and within which variation is limited. However, it can also be used very successfully within those areas in which there is a large amount of variation if combined with a make-to-order type of approach to planning. I assume that you understand make-to-order and make-to-stock. Okay, so make-to-order is a pull system. Make-to-stock is a push system. Okay. If the Kanban location becomes vacant, then the process will simply build the next component or batch on their list. Okay. So these are the 3 types of the systems: card, bin, and the con. Okay. Let's now look at how do you calculate the Kanban quantities. So Kanban calculations are actually very simple. Okay. We obtain the Kanban quantities by multiplying the daily demand with the lead time. We then divide the sum by container quantity and multiply the output with the safety factor. Okay. So daily demand over here can be seasonal, and it can also be affected by the variety of the host of issues. So normally what we do is we calculate that if your peak has been, let's say 100, we would calculate 90 to 95% of your peak demand as the daily demand. If there is a high variation in the demand levels, then we can also use the largest safety factor to cushion the problems over here. Similarly, like demand, for the lead times also, we use the actual data in AIM for the 90 to 95% of the peak of the actual lead time taken for delivering a particular product. Okay. If the lead times are longer, then one should look at the larger batches, and we should actually look up at a SMAD to reduce those particular lead times. Okay. Safety factor is defined as per the confidence in the system used, and if you have total confidence in the reliability of your processes, then it can be set to 1. Okay. If you have a higher safety factor, then this will help you to protect from stocking out. But when the stocking out is protected with the higher safety factor, it also forces you to build up your stock holding, and it increases your inventory into the stocks. Okay. So let's take this example and this calculation and put up an example. What I have done over here in the example is I've taken the 30 units as the daily demand with a lead time of 5 days, and container quantity in which I have to ship, let's say, as a 50 units. And since I have a very high confidence level in the demand levels as well as my production capability, we are giving a safety factor of only 1. So this becomes 30 into 5 equivalent to 150 divided by 50, which is 3 units, is what our Kanban quantity comes in. And that's the inventory level which we have to maintain at any given point. So obviously, once you have the Kanban quantity identified, this should lead you to something. So what we normally do is that we look up at this Kanban quantity to determine that do we have the excess Kanban or excess inventory or not. Okay, and I'm sure you would recall that one of the biggest 7 waste is that of the inventory. We will want to remove as much inventory from our system as much possible, because more inventory means that we have a lot of issues which are hidden into our processes. So by reducing the size of our Kanban quantities, we will be able to start to reduce the safety that we have already in place. And the moment the safety net is starting to break, then a lot of problems which have been into the system start surfacing on the top, and they become visible to us, and we can start taking actions to remove them. So this is an effective way in which we can highlight the various issues, and we can start making the continuous improvement within our own processes. So even in this graphics also, I'm focusing upon the overproduction and the inventory, which are the 2 directly linked factors to the Kanban overall. Okay. So let's look at the implementation of the Kanban now. Toyota has formulated the 6 rules for application of Kanban. Okay. I'll quickly go through these 6 rules, and then we'll discuss them slightly more. Rule number 1, each process issues request, that is a Kanban, to its suppliers when it consumes its supplies. Okay. Second, each process produces according to the quantity and sequence of the incoming request. It cannot break that sequence, and it should not produce more than the request quantity. Third, no items are made or transported without a request. Everything has to be driven by the Kanban over here. And incidentally, there is also a transport Kanban, which can also ensure that your Kanbans are regulating your transportation mechanism also. Okay. Fourth, the request associated with an item is always attached to it. You cannot move the item without the associated card or a request card over here. Then only you can identify that whether I have built additional quantity or lesser quantity than the request which has been made. Okay. Fifth, process must not send out defective items to ensure that the finished products will be defect free. Okay. Now this is another major item, that is, if I'm ensuring that each process I'm validating the product or the item which I have produced and ensuring that it is not defective, and the next process receives only the perfect items, my defect ratios will dramatically drop. Okay, so this again helps you into removing one of the waste of the defect. Limiting the number of the pending requests, that's the 6th one, makes the process more sensitive and reveals the inefficiencies. Okay, So again, this is more of a batch concept and ensuring that if you have the pending requests are limited, then your process is actually more sensitive, and any inefficiencies in not being able to manage becomes visible to you and you can address it out. Okay. So decreasing the size or number of Kanbans within the system will always increase the system sensitivity to changes or the problems. This is often the best way to highlight issues within the process and to drive the improvement. So this is the 6 Kanban rules over here. Okay. So how do we implement it? So Kanban implementation would require the workflow to consist of the logical steps. It just cannot be too random and cannot be, on the need basis. Rather, they have to be very logical steps. Usually there are 2 steps to a workflow, and they are identified and worked upon via the, and they can be called as the queue and work in progress. Okay. So these are the 2 steps which are very important into the workflow. Team is empowered to decide on the maximum amount of work each step of the workflow can hold. The decision is not by a manager, decision is by the team, which actually sees that what is the flow which is happening, and as per the flow, then they decide that how much amount of the work they can do within that particular step and how much inventory also they can handle into that. Okay. Work is pushed into the queue steps and pulled into a process system. That's a very important part, that I push my work into a queue step, and at the end of it, I pull it out into my process system. Work is halted into 2 successive stages to clear the bottlenecks if required. Okay. So these are, some of the implementation guidelines whenever we have to implement the Kanban over here. We will re-examine them when we go into the next set of the slides over here also. Implementing a Kanban system would mean that the earlier processes never push the production into the later processes. Okay. If I produce something, I will not push it into the next stage until and unless the next stage is demanding it from me that please give me the raw material or give me the components. Okay. Nothing will be ever made without the Kanban authority. That's another major important, criteria while implementing the Kanban. Nothing is made if there are no Kanbans. Again, I cannot create anything, I cannot produce anything if there's no Kanban, which fundamentally means is that there's no pull system, there's no demand for that thing, and I should not be creating anything which doesn't have a demand. Okay. We should be able to identify defects as close to the resource to the source as possible. And remember earlier also we said that we will not allow any process to push the defective product or the defective parts to the next process. Okay, we should be able to arrest it within that particular process over here only. We cannot also operate with the large batches or lots of the plant changes. If we do that, the whole flow and our whole evenness into the system will go off. So we have to have a very stable batch sizing and also a stable plan for the production over here. And wherever possible, the demand has to be smoothened out. If the demand is not smoothened, then also we will have the issues of the unevenness over here, leading to ineffective control of the production system over here. Okay, so these are some of the very important, factors for the implementation of Kanban. Now, this leads me to the another thing that if this are the restrictions, then in that case there should be certain ideal environment also, which would use the Kanban in a very effective way. So I'm listing out some of the ideal environment scenarios over here, which can be used for implementing the Kanban. It doesn't mean that if these ideal conditions do not exist, then you cannot implement the Kanban. Yes, you can. The only thing is that the Kanban implementation will be harder, because the Kanban system will have to then smoothen out the entire thing slowly and then slowly work upon eliminating the variety of the waste and the various, unevenness into the system, so that it becomes a better ideal labeled production and a environment for implementing the Kanban. So, so it's not a hindrance, but it definitely puts in the extra efforts. So let's look at the factors which define the ideal environment for the Kanban overall. So first one is the regular demand from the customer. And needless to say, if our customer demand is highly irregular and difficult to predict, it becomes very hard to hold the Kanban stocks in the traditional supermarket style. So we may end up holding larger than necessary stock, and then work in progress levels also would increase. And this can, kind of imbalance your shop floor over here. Okay? So that's one. Second scenario is that if there is a low product variation, it will always help you. But if you have to make hundreds or even thousands of different products, then you will not want to hold a stock of all of them, as this can very easily increase the amount that you hold. Okay. I have 1,000 parts and I'm holding the inventory of at least 2 parts per variation. That itself means that 2,000 parts I have to hold it as an inventory. So that's something which we don't want. If the low product variation is there and I am holding only 2 per variation, my variations are only 20, my inventory is also only 40. Okay. So we will always want to reduce this burden by ensuring that there are many commonly used parts between the products, and that we are able to make the product unique as late as possible in the process. Okay. So again, from a different angle, Kanban over here helps you to actually identify that what is the way of smoothing out your high product variation, and then accordingly stabilize the entire environment over here. Third ideal scenario for the Kanban is that the clear flow. There is a existence of the clear flow. Facilities which are organized in a silo type with all similar processing being done in a one location are very hard to control with a Kanban system. Okay. Again, I'm not saying that it is impossible, but yes, it becomes very difficult to manage it over there. So the better arrangement is that we have one in which all the processes are organized together to provide a flow line or a cell. Or in other words, the cellular manufacturing, if it is brought in over here, then the cellular manufacturing can definitely help you to maintain a better flow into your manufacturing. The next one is the small dedicated machines. Some of the companies always invest into the large machines because they feel that the large machine can produce very fast, and they can increase your production capability. Yes, agreed. But then what also happens is that the large machines, if they're not balanced out with every equipment of the same level, then they also create a lot of bottlenecks into the entire manufacturing. And that's why it is better that you have dedicated small machines which are evenly balanced and they do not, kind of disturb your batch sizes. Then in that case, it will be better to have small dedicated machines. Okay. Quick changeover. That's the next area. A lot of machines take, and a lot of associated processes take long time to run a new product or a variant. And that basically means is that since I have a longer time to change over, I would maintain a large batch without calling for a frequent changeovers. This also sometimes creates the significant bottlenecks because one large batch may not be possible to process onto the next process easily because of the machine capacity or process capacity and so on and so forth. So that's where then we end up taking up the single minute exchange of die or the quick changeover techniques over here, so that if we can have the faster and quick changeovers, our batch sizes can reduce, and that can help us to again, smoothen out and have a better Kanban implementation. Okay. So the next one is the repeatable and reliable processes. If our machines are, susceptible to breaking down and processes are not repeatable, then it will be always hard to control any form of production system, let alone be the Kanban. Okay. So that's where we end up using the TPM, 5S, or variety of the quality improvement techniques, so that we can standardize our operations and then ensure that our operations become stable, repeatable, and have the reliable processes and equipment into that. That's another ideal scenario required for the Kanban. If it doesn't exist, then we have to create this kind of a scenario for effective Kanban. The last one is the reliable suppliers. And our suppliers are again vital part of our own processes. And we need to ensure that they're able to support our own Kanban processes. If we ask them to produce only when we give them a Kanban card and then immediately supply us that, but they are not able to do that, then in that case, our Kanban system also will not work. So having the reliable suppliers who can act upon our demands will also be very, urgently required over here. So as I said, all these are the ideal scenarios. And it does not mean that if you don't have these ideal scenarios, you can't implement the Kanban or the JIT or full system. But all it means is that you will have to address out all these areas and smoothen out the entire, production line so that the Kanban becomes easy to implement. So you will be rather forced to implement more lean tools to smoothen out the entire thing to get the Kanban effective over here. Okay. So this is what the ideal environment for the Kanban is. Having talked about the lean and having talked about that you need to level out your production and level out your processes, let's also look into what does the lean and Kanban basically mean and do they work together. So as we have talked about even earlier also, the lean is an umbrella system for lots of the tools, including the Kanban. Okay. On the other hand side, the Kanban shows at a glance that your current status and what is your current status, and also highlights the bottlenecks. Okay. So while it is rooted deep into the business and engineering science, lean is actually above and beyond a way of thinking, and is a way of approaching the work and life. Okay. So lean is not just, again, if you look, the lean principles are also very simple. So lean is actually a way of approaching towards the work and life and balancing it out. Toyota production system, on the other hand side, focused on improving value and eliminating waste. And over a period of time, this TPS system was renamed as lean by the MIT researchers. Now, the goal which they identified over there was to continuously improve your business process. That's what the basically lean fundamentally means. Kanban, on the other hand side, while it is able to highlight the the bottlenecks into your system, okay, it is also a pull system which also helps in optimizing the flow and uses the visual signaling cards called the Kanbans. Okay. So it's a visual signaling method. Kanban will also show us at a glance how we are doing, also highlight the bottlenecks where you can improve upon, and so on and so forth. So if we use the Kanban, it will tie together all the scattered pieces of your work, turning them from a mess to a beautifully organized system. And if you are ready to improve your speed and eradicate the chaos on your shop floor, then Kanban becomes the right method for you. And this is exactly what the lean is also doing. Lean is also approaching how to organize your work and your life. So lean and Kanban actually work together. Kanban becomes one of the important tools within the lean umbrella to achieve the way of leans. Okay. So they are not two different things. They're all together, and Kanban is considered as a major tool under the lean overall. Okay. There is another thing which we use along with the Kanban and within the lean systems, the tool called the bottleneck analysis. Okay. So capacity of a process will always be limited by certain bottlenecks, and those limited capacities or the bottlenecks will be ending up impacting the entire cycle time. Okay. Just 1 second. I think Kishore, I am audible or?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. Yes.
Can you see me or my screen is frozen?
Yeah, screen seems to be frozen, but your voice is audible, sir.
Okay, let me just try. Okay.
That's fine now.
Okay, all right. I think having some issue. Okay. All right. So talking back about the bottlenecks, if there are bottlenecks existing into your process, it will always impact the entire life cycle or the cycle time of your entire production cycle. Okay. So bottlenecks will, and again, why the bottlenecks will develop? Because in any process, whether it is a manufacturing line or any kind of a business process, different activities always take the different amount of time, and various stages have the different capacity. And these things happen due to unknown and various number of the resources in an uneven state over here. Okay. So if my machines are not balanced, if my resource inputs and outputs are not happening properly, my machine capacity is not synchronized to each other, I would end up having some kind of a bottleneck at some particular point. Okay. Sometimes even the batch processing also leads to the bottlenecks. Okay. Bottlenecks will also slow down the tech time, which is nothing but the time it takes to honor our client's request. Okay. So what we do is we use the Kanban to leverage the bottleneck analysis, which helps us to identify that what are the constraints into the overall flow. And if those particular constraints are identified using this bottleneck analysis technique, then we can remove them and ensure that our Kanbans are working properly. If the Kanbans stop working, then that also means that somewhere there is a bottleneck which is occurring. So they all become complementary. Bottleneck will help you to move the Kanban smoothly, and a Kanban getting stopped will also mean that there is some bottleneck into the system which we need to look into. Okay. So that's a bottleneck analysis. Similarly, Heijunka and the Kanban, they also go together. Okay. Heijunka forms the foundation of Lean, or TPS, whatever you want to call it, Toyota Production System, along with the concept of the standardized work and the Kaizen. So Kaizen is standardized work, and Heijunka, supported with the 5S in the bottom, they become the foundation of the Lean. Sometimes we also call it as the stabilization of the shop floor. Okay. When we apply the Heijunka technique, what happens is that we meet the customer demands through the smaller batches, standardized work, and a quick changeover mechanism. Okay. Lean always seeks to reduce the lead time, improving the quality and value of the customer at all times. So Lean thinking takes from the Kanban method, that is, the items are not built to forecast for the future demand, but are produced only when customers order them. This way, what happens is the production team will never be working on the products that will not sell. Okay? You will not end up stocking. So using the Kanban and using the Heijunka, which will help you to balance out your entire production with standardization, with Kaizens to help you into improving those standardizations and the balancing of the production levels. Kanban and Heijunka actually work together under the Lean umbrella. There is a new concept which I'm going to talk over here in terms of the water spider. So water spider again is part of the Lean approach. Water spider is not a tool, but it is actually a role given to a person. Okay? And this rule basically means is that the person who is playing this role will timely and accurately keep on replenishing the stock into the next process. Okay? He is very much like a part of the Kanban team, or maybe a mobile Kanban system, whose job is to refill the production line with the required material to maintain a steady flow. Okay? His goal is also to shorten the process lead time and reduce the waste. Okay? On some production lines, engineers or assemblies are required to step away from the station to gather a new batch of the raw material. This fundamentally means is that if I am leaving my station to move out, collect the material and come back and start, then there is always a delay in the process, and there is also waste in the movement. Okay? The water spider can fill in over here. He can reduce this, delay in the process and the waste in the movement by carrying around a mini shopping cart kind of a thing, which has the Kanban system with the materials needed by all the assemblies or the assemblers or the operators and so on and so forth. Okay? This will mean that the assembly line workers will not have to, leave their job. They will not have to perform the non-value work, and the required material are always available to them in a way that it doesn't disturb their workflows. Okay? However, the water spider has to also follow a very standardized sequence route, and that would mean that it would pass through all the workers at a particular routine time, passing on their required material to them, and also decrease the variability in terms of their movements and so on and so forth. So this way, what happens is that water spider is also, restricting and managing his own movement smoothly, and he is also following a Kanban. He's also following a predefined sequence route over here, and also using a bin system which indicates that which items have to be refilled into the assembly line. Okay? So a steady flow of production and better stabilization of the stock delivery to the line by the water spider. This will always help you into increasing the production efficiency and also thereby that decrease the cost ultimately. Okay. So this is another useful concept which comes into the picture when you start using the water spider. Okay. What we will do is we will take up a case study quickly and try to understand the concept of the Kanban in the real scenario. So we had a client of ours who faced the consistent problem of the shortage of space. Finished good inventory was constantly spilling over to non-store areas, and this was causing the movement issues. And while the demand was fairly stable, product mixes per dispatch meant that the lead time to produce for dispatch order was up to the 4 days. Okay? This means that you had to build up the inventory for 4 days before you could actually start delivering it out. Okay? Also, the filling stations which were used to fill the drums, they had to be frequently stocked as they had limited storage capacity to hold the intermediate filled drums. Okay. So in this particular scenario, the management decided to implement a pull system, or rather a Kanban, to address the situation over here. So let's have a quick overview. Shop floor has actually the 3 drum and bag filling stations circled by the red color circles. And the combined filling capacity was 300 units per day of the different product mix. Okay. They also have the intermediate storage area, which is next to the storage, next to the filling station, and that can approximately handle the 85 units. Once the drums or bags are filled, they move to the shrink and wrapping area, which is highlighted by the orange color. And then from there, they move to the vertical storage area before they were finally dispatched. So these are the stacking areas or the storage area. This is the shrink wrapping stations. These are the intermediate holding stations next to the filling stations over here. Okay. So in this particular case, the overall daily demand was around 250 units, which were dispatched or managed via the 10 containers dispatches. Okay. Demand was fairly consistent. The only thing which was not consistent was the product mix. And the product mix also was not very heavy. It was a product mix which had to be handled out. Okay. And lead time to produce this needed product mix for a particular dispatch of the 25 units per container was somewhere around 4 days. So we calculated the Kanban quantity to be 40 units, that is 250 units daily demand, multiplied by 4 days of the lead time, divided by the 25 units per container, and a safety factor of 1. We took the safety factor of 1 because demand and production were very stable. So they were not fluctuating. We had very high confidence level over here. Okay. This fundamentally meant is that we needed a storage of the 1,000 units, whereas the current finished goods storage capacity was the 900 units. Okay. So there was a shortage on the finished goods storage, and if the lead time increased for any reason or the dispatches didn't take place, it would mean that anyway you were overflowing by 100 units, you would overflow much more than that. Okay. So when we started understanding this entire thing, that's where we realized that there were 2 bottlenecks which were happening. So you can see over here, shrink wrapping capacity was lower than the drum filling rate. And this was leading to the frequent stop of the filling machines, because I could fill 300 drums, but my shrink wrapping was only 250. So it could not vacate the filled drums from that particular area. So I had to wait till the drums were vacated from there. And that meant that I had to shut down the machines for the brief period. The second thing was the storage space was less than the Kanban quantity. And if you can see, we mentioned the 900 units, whereas the total production comes to 1,000 units or so. Okay, so or the 1,000 units were required to be held back. So because of that, what happened? That extra drums or the extra bags were placed into the other areas, which actually were outside the finished good area, and that also created the inconvenience in the material and the man movement overall. Okay, so given this scenario, what we did is that we actually implemented a 4 cards bin system. First card was removed by the shrink wrapping process from the filling station. The second card was at the finished goods store, that when the space was made available, they would pick up the finished shrink wrapped thing and then store it over there. The third card was at the dispatch unit, and that is where when the dispatch was actually done, they would pull out the entire thing. And then finally, when the dispatch was completed, the card would be handed back. All the cards together, 4 cards would be handed back to the filling station, so that the filling station could restart the drum and the bag filling for the next batch of the dispatches. Okay, so what we did into this entire thing was that we carried out a value stream mapping to understand the value streams and how the man and material was flowing. This helped us to identify the non-value added activities and the wait periods at the different stations. Once we knew the wait period and the locations, we carried out the bottleneck analysis to understand and identify the ways of improving flows. We also realized that filled drums were not removed from the filling stations area regularly, owing to the lack of schedule as well as the availability of the forklift. We also looked into how the filling stations could be set up for the quick changeover between the different product mix. And finally, we looked at the balancing of the line to reduce the overall lead time from 4 days to the 3 days. Okay. Apart from this, we also deployed a water spider. So this water spider we deployed in the form of a forklift operator. We designated him as a water spider. What we did is that we dedicated a forklift operator with fixed routes and frequency to ensure that the filled drums were removed from the filling stations as the shrink wrapping activity is completed of the previous batches. So the shrink wrapping would pull the demand, and the water spider will fill that particular gaps based upon a certain standard routine which they would follow. Okay, this helped that the intermediate storage at the filling station was constantly regularly emptied out, and it was in sync with the shrink wrapping process, and this helped in the material flow happening smoothly. This also avoided the material jamming up at the filling station. So we deployed the water spider over here also. Now what happened is that as an end result of it, we could actually reduce the lead time to produce by 1 day, which was nearly 25% improvement. We required the SMAG and the other things to be done over there. We also had the lead, since the lead times were shorter, we also didn't have the need for holding the inventory for the longer period. Kanban quantity from the 40 units came down to 30 units, which again was a reduction of 25%. And this helped in reducing the storage space requirement. Okay. Spillages outside the finished goods store areas were now not required because the 900 units storage capacity was sufficient to handle the 30 Kanban units equivalent to 750 units. Okay. Wait period went down as the water spider started removing material in a routine manner to the next processes. And finally, the overproduction went away and the lead time reduced, and that led to a proper line balancing across the whole value stream. Okay. Water spider again helped us in ensuring that the filling stations were debottlenecked and they did not need to stop due to the space shortages. So the small stops or the unplanned stops at the filling stations also kind of came down over here. Okay. So what happened as a result, Kanban helped us to reduce the overproduction and also smoothen the material flow. It also had in line balancing as well as reducing the inventory. We ended up using the tools like VSM, SMAD, Heijunka, Spaghetti, Material Flow, Water Spider, and so on and so forth to ensure that we have a successful Kanban implementation. Or in other words, we created an ideal environment by using all these tools so that the Kanban could become successful. Okay, so this is what we ended up doing into this particular case or this particular scenario. As I mentioned, the Kanban has also become very popular now, apart from its utility in the lean manufacturing, production labeling and inventory management, etc., or even waste reduction. It's also becoming increasingly popular in the general and simplified project management or tracking tasks and activities or balancing the workload through the task boards and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's take the example of the software development. Kanban has been very heavily adopted now in the software development. What it means over here is that the requirements are taken in the Kanban queue and they're pulled through the different development stages as each process gets completed. So when I have my analysis over, I'll take out more requirements from the Kanban queue and work upon it. But I'll be doing that only when my, the design process pulls the analysis requirement over here. So the queue system starts working into the software development also. And Safe Agile was probably one of the first, methodology to use the Kanban. It's into Agile methodology. Okay. Kanban has been also used as a free-flowing project management, which is totally based on the small budget size based pull system. And it uses the basic, theory of constraint with the Elihu Goldratt. And that small batch system based pull system is very simple and easy to use to manage your not so complicated project management. Here the cards are defined and picked up by the individuals as per what they can finish during the day. They pull out the additional cards only when they have completed the task on the hand. So sometimes what they do is that they create the card of a size which cannot be more than the 8 hours of the work or a 1 day's work. So you know that at the end of the day, this card has got completed and it gets moved into the done area. That way, there is a pull system created and then you work upon it, and you also have a batch size restricted to not let that work overflow and become unmanageable. So these are the simple implications and the simple implementations of the Kanbans as the task boards or the project management systems as well. A Kanban board essentially would have very simple elements. It would have the vertical channels, multiple vertical channels, and they can be to be done, in progress, and done. These are the most popular ones, but you can create your own, vertical channels to suit your implementation. And each column would have multiple cards, and each card would carry the necessary details about what is it all about, what has to be done, the scope of the work, due date, who has to do it, and stuff like that. And some of the boards will also have the horizontal swim lanes, which could be grouping or categorization of your cards, and then keep them in the swim lane for effective management, overall management. Okay, so this is a simple Kanban board, which is also becoming now very popular and being used across the board. Okay, there are several tools available in the market for the online Kanban management. Most of the ERPs these days integrate the Kanban boards into their systems. And if you want to use the standalone systems, then Trello, Zenha, Blossom, these are some of the tools which I have used also, and they are very popular and very simple to use as well as very powerful as well. Okay, so these are some of the examples of this Kanban, other than the lean manufacturing perspective also. However, the principles across the board, whatever industry you try to use, always remain same. It's a pull system based upon a visual method system based upon the manageable batch sizes to be handled. Okay. So to sum up, a Kanban system would require a fairly level and well understood demand, and it will also have a provide a careful analysis, or it would require a careful analysis of the capabilities of your manufacturing process. Okay. A well-researched and well-implemented Kanban system is capable of delivering cost savings by reducing inventory, warehousing, and deferring the manufacturing expenses until the production is required. Okay. So in the end, Kanban is nothing but a pull system which optimizes flow and uses visual signaling cards, which are called Kanban. Taichi Ohno defines the Kanban as to produce only what is needed, when it is needed, and in the amount needed. Okay. It is again a visual method for controlling production as part of just-in-time and lean manufacturing. Kanban can be 2 or 3 card systems, 2 or 3 bin systems, or constant work in progress with or without scheduling. Okay. Various tools like the Heizunker, Water Spider, bottleneck analysis, work standardization, all these things help in implementing the Kanban better. Okay. Kanban also has the 6 rules imposed. I'm just quickly going to go over those 6 rules once again. Each process issues request to its supplier when it consumes its supplies. Each process produces according to the quantity and sequence of incoming requests. No items are made or transported without a request. The request associated with an amount is always, with an item is always attached to it. Process must not send out defective items to ensure that the finished products will be defect free. Limiting the number of pending requests make the process more sensitive and reveals the inefficiencies. These are the 6 rules which Kanban goes by. Okay, and Kanban works always better in case of relatively stable consumer demand and low product variations. Though complicated implementations of Kanban can handle the large product variations and fluctuating demands as well. Okay, so friends, in the end, Kanban is an important lean manufacturing tool. It has become a very popular project management tool as well, and also used in the software industry also. Kanban, though it looks very simple, it requires a detailed study and designing for the effective implementation. And it also requires the use of the subsequent tools to, create an ideal environment for implementation of the Kanban. Skilltelligent in our university, we can always help you in implementing the Kanban at your workplace, or even train your teams in understanding better and get ready to implement it. I hope that this session has been useful and informative for you all. Thank you very much for joining in this webinar. We look forward to your feedback in these sessions. You can also subscribe to the Skilltelligent channel on the YouTube for all the past sessions which we have conducted. All the recordings are over there. Thank you once again, and over to you, Kishore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a wonderful presentation and apprising us on the subject Kanban, the pull system. We have few questions coming in.
Sure.
So let us start with few questions. Kanban is used more in manufacturing or in the other industries also?
So Kanban is now used everywhere. Okay, it started with the supermarkets, or rather the retail business, and it became an important tool into the manufacturing. And now it is used into the software industry as well. Okay, so, and then large number of the people are also using it as a simple task management or project management tool as well. So Kanban is used everywhere, but the most effective and the most, well-structured implementation obviously is into the manufacturing. That's where it is, focused upon.
Okay. Next question. What does Kanban quantities indicates?
Kanban quantities actually indicate that what is the number of units you are supposed to hold. So suppose if we took this calculation of, daily demand multiplied by the lead time divided by the container quantity multiplied by the safety factor. This basically will say that if my lead time is 4 days, my quantity to be produced is, let's say, 30, it becomes 120, and my container size to dispatch something is 20, then I require the 6 Kanban units. That is, I need to store up to 120 units of the product to ensure that I can continuously maintain my flow of the supplies or be able to address the customer pull over here. So it's nothing but a way of identifying that how much quantity I have to hold in my warehouse. And if my quantity is very high, then I definitely need to look at how to reduce it. So it becomes an indicator that I'm overproducing. It is not matching to my pull system, or my lead times are higher. That's leading me to have a higher quantity. So one way or the other, it helps me to, start working upon and reducing the inventory size. So that's what the Kanban quantity is.
Thank you. The next question. What is water spider?
Yeah, so water spider actually, as I said, is a very less realized or used concept. But water spider is actually a role which is created within the lean manufacturing. It's not a tool. It's a role given to a particular person. And that person's job is to ensure that the next processes are accurately and timely stopped. Okay. This ensures that the process lead time and the waste is reduced, as this guy will ensure that the needed quantities are quickly replenished at the next process station. Okay. This also means that the people who were to get up, leaving their stations to get the raw material, now no longer have to do that part, because somebody else will take care of them, right? And since this Water Spider works upon a standardized routes, preset frequency, and a sequence of movement. What happens is that this also helps in reducing the variability into supplies to the people over here. So Kanban, Water Spider essentially is again to summarize back, is a role within the lean manufacturing, and it helps in augmenting the Kanban efforts and also supports the warehouse team. Okay. So that's what the Water Spider is.
Thank you, sir. The next question, can Kanban help in reducing wastages?
Yes, big time, because that's what we would use the Kanban for, streamlining the processes and flow. And if we have an effective Kanban, it will always help in reducing the inventory. And along with the Heizunka, it will help us in balancing the line, which again results into curtailing any kind of an overproduction taking place. Okay. A good Kanban will also ensure that there is no wait period between the processes or stations by streamlining the flow of the material. And if you have an effective Kanban, it also, if you remember one of the rule, it also says that no defective part will be passed on to the next process. So it also will ensure that the defects are contained within your process. It doesn't go further. And this essentially also reduces the waste of the defect. So waste of defect, waste of the weight, waste of the overproduction, waste of the inventory. It helps you to, really reduce all these things very effectively. Okay. So it helps in multiple ways to reduce the waste in the manufacturing.
Thank you, sir. And we have answered all the questions. Now we are coming to the end of the session.
Okay.
Thank you, Atul sir, for advising us on the Kanban, the whole system. Kanban is a method applied across all fields of work to help teams drive down costs and become more efficient by visualizing and improving workflows. Kanban gives the flexibility to build sustainable competitive advantage and empower teams to accomplish more and faster. An organization can derive many benefits by implementing Kanban, for example, better visibility, improved efficiency, improved productivity, preventing team overburden, reduce waste, and improve company culture. We at our university and Skilltelligent are here to support you in implementing such best practices in your organization to achieve the best desired results. You may like to contact us for such queries. I take this opportunity to share with you that our university and Skilltelligent jointly will be shortly launching a short-term course on the Certified Lean Manufacturing Supervisor. We will share the details of the course very shortly with you. And the next session of ours will be held on coming Thursday, that is on the 1st of October, same time. We will share the details of the topic very soon. I take this opportunity to thank Atul sir for being with us and advising us on this subject. And I would like to thank all the participants and look forward to see you next week. We will be sharing the presentation of the workshop, of the webinar very shortly with you. Thank you very much and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.